Greetings and welcome back. I wanted to talk to you all a little today about what happens when someone you love relapses. So there's always a possibility that when you love someone who struggles with addiction that they start to use again, and that has nothing to do with their love for you or your love for them. That has everything to do with just the nature of addiction. It's a chronic relapsing disease, and so I think one of the first things to just say is that if you love someone who's relapsed, kind of the inclination is to blame yourself, and it really, unfortunately, has very little to do with you. There's lots of different ways to handle what happens when someone you love relapses, especially if you're living together. Some people choose to ask that person to leave, and that can be a really drastic measure, and really is a very individual choice. But I really discourage it unless there's a question that that person is doing yourself or the other people in your household harm to the extent that it wouldn't be tolerable for them to live there. Just because someone is using, though, it doesn't mean that they get all the privileges or that you need to not set boundaries around what you will and will not tolerate. So especially if you're a parent and your child starts to use again, and that child is financially dependent on you, their phone, their keys, their credit cards and ATM cards, those are all privileges that you give them, not entitlements that they have. And so limiting their access to those things actually is something that's very protective, especially when they're in the midst of active addiction. For those of you who are plugged into sober networks when you, in terms of Al-Anon or Narconon, now is a really wonderful time to reach out to those folks, because you can't necessarily control what your loved one is doing, but you can definitely control your own actions and get support around how you deal with this. If you're not connected to a community like that, I really encourage you to be. Aside from Al-Anon and Narconon, there's things like Family Anonymous. A lot of treatment programs in your local area will have family support groups, and I really encourage you to plug into those things, not just for your own stress reduction, but also to learn how other families are handling when people they love relapse. This also might be a time that you decide to engage a team, either a therapist, a family therapist, a psychiatrist, an addiction medicine doctor, to understand for yourself what are your options when your family member is ready to get help, and how you yourself may be as healthy as possible in the relationship so that you're not enabling the person you love to continue to use. This is a really complicated topic, and there's not a video in the world that's going to solve this problem, but there are different options that people have as family members when someone you love uses, and it can feel like you're out of control, but there are things that can be done that you can control. Maybe not the actions of the person you love, but the way in which you create that climate in your home or in your relationship, so that you can protect yourself as much as possible, as well as understand how to support the person you love. Be well.